Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Combed Education Podcast. Let's talk hair. My name is Araz. I am your host. I am a fellow colorist of a very long time. And I say this in every episode. This podcast is a passion project of mine. Low-key, I really like to talk. I'm Armenian, and we just share lots of stories. And so the fact that I get to share my stories, my learnings, my aha moments on this podcast is just so incredibly gratifying for me. But today, I want to talk to you guys about Megix 10. So if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I am very, very involved and in love with Megix 10. And there's a lot of you who message me or DM me with questions about the line, how it works, all of that. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time this morning just to talk about kind of like why I choose to use Megix 10. While Combed Education is completely non-branded, listen, I have nothing against any of the brands, any of the manufacturers, any of the color lines. Like, they're all great in their own respective ways, right? I will never bash a brand. I will never talk shit on, because I think everything has a time and a place. But I'm gonna tell you a little story about why I use Megix and why I'm so passionate about it and why it's so beneficial for me and how I run my business. This does not mean that it's going to be for you, okay? But it definitely works for me. So it was a few years ago. I had somebody reach out, probably about 7 years ago. I had somebody reach out to me and say, hey, you need to try this new color line. It's from Italy. It's revolutionary, like game changing. Backstory, I had been in the industry for many years at that point, and I've always been a colorist, a science enthusiast. So I was like, what's so great about this hair color? Like, hair color is hair color. You can give me box color and I'll fucking work magic. Not to sound cocky, but like, what's so great about it? And they go, oh, it's a 10-minute color. And I was like, no, thanks. I'm so good. I am not interested. And the reason I was not interested was not because I wasn't necessarily interested in the product or this idea of 10-minute color. I had bought into the idea of 10-minute color years ago. A lot of my business was built on gray coverage clients because I think they're the bread and butter clients. They're loyal. Client retention rate with gray coverage, like they come in regularly. They're my bread and butter clients. And so I had built a business on gray coverage. And so when, this idea of 10-minute color years ago was brought up to me, I was like, fuck yeah, this sounds amazing. And then I tried it. And I tried several different brands of 10-minute color. And I was like, oh no, this is not going to work. This is not going to work because either it's so progressive and so opaque and so dark, or I'm not getting the gray coverage that I want. It's not reliable. Like, I'm not interested. So fast forward to, 6 years ago, like, oh, it's a 10-minute color. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Like, I wish I could find a 10-minute color that actually did what it said it was going to do. But up to this point, I have been jaded and I'm not trying to do corrective color situations. Like, no, thank you. I'm just going to stick to whatever I was using at the time. But y'all know I'm an open-minded bitch and I got curious and I was like, but you can send me some just so I can try, because the idea of getting my clients in and out quicker made sense to me. I just hadn't found a product that did what it claimed to do. So I got some samples. I tested it out on family. Well, swatches first. And then I tested it out on family and I was like, trade out, buy in, give me the whole line. I am in. Like, this stuff is magical. So of course, once I became obsessed with it, I was like, hey, do you guys need educators? Because this is like, it's going to change my business. I already know it's going to change my business, and it did. And so I got involved in the education side of things, right? So if you fast forward to today, I'm very involved with Megix. I'm the lead educator for North America and Canada, not because I want to work for a company, but because this color line changed the fucking business for me, right? Where I was spending 2 hours with clients, I'm now spending an hour. I'm not a fan of double booking. If you are, I'm not hating on you. Like, that's totally fine. But I didn't double book. And so the notion, this idea that, oh my God, it works. So I essentially was able to almost double my income without changing a fucking thing. I didn't have to raise my prices. I didn't have to work more hours. I didn't have to double book. All I did was change my color line to a color line that processes in 10 minutes and does what it says it's going to do. I was blown away. And so over the years, obviously, as I've gotten to learn the product line and done several launches, from a manufacturer standpoint, like seeing the back end of how the company is ran, of what the values are, it really is about hairdressers and saving us more time or helping us make more money. You know, with Megix, their whole line, everything processes in 10 minutes. When you look at some of the other 10-minute color lines, they have several different color lines. Like they have their permanents, they have their demis, and then this, and then they have like the afterthought of the 10-minute color, like the Me Too of just, oh, we have a 10-minute color too. Yeah, but it doesn't fucking work, in my opinion. Now, again, I'm not bashing. I just, based on facts, like I've used and tested all of them and nothing works like Megix. So I'm going to explain a couple of things from my understanding of how Megix works and to really just get you to shift maybe your perspective on 10-minute color. And I'm air quoting, if you're not watching on YouTube, 10-minute color, because I think the only thing that Megix 10 has in common with other 10-minute color lines is just the fact that it processes in 10 minutes. Everything else about Megix 10 is like a traditional color line. So there's over 90 shades to pick from. So it's not just like 15 or 20 shades. There's over 90 shades to pick from: reds, coppers, violets, ash, sand, high lifts, like a full ass portfolio, right? Also, Megix can be used as an alkaline demi, as a permanent, high lift, gray coverage, and acidic demi, all from the same tube. So to me, that's really appealing because, like, okay, I don't have to carry 17 lines if I don't want to, right? So very much like a traditional color line. You know, every service that I do in the salon behind the chair, I can do using Megix. And I save almost 70% in processing time. So that allows me, depending on the season of life I'm in. So when I first brought Megix on 6 years ago, the season of life I was in was like, I want to make money. Like that freed up almost 3 hours in my day just by switching to a processing time of 10 minutes. I took on more clients. I was getting referrals left and right because I was offering something to my clients that they couldn't buy: their time. I gave them their time back. And what did they do? They told everybody. So I was like, give me all the fucking clients, right? Where I'm at in my life now is my time is more important. So because of Megix, I'm not working as many days behind the chair. I work 3 days behind the chair. Technically 2.5. Fridays and Saturdays are like, Fridays I only work till about 4, and Saturdays I only work till about 2. Wednesdays I work full days. So, you know, right now where I'm at is I want more time. I want more free time to spend on combed education. I want more free time to spend with my family. I want to travel and teach and do all these things. And so I can scale back my days behind the chair and not lose revenue, right? Because of what Megix 10 has done for me. So I'm not getting paid to do this podcast. I don't think they even know that I'm doing this. But I was thinking about, like, you know, going through all my DMs and trying to figure out, you know, what is it that you guys are wanting? And I get a lot of Megix questions, And so I wanted to share, you know, my side of it and why I choose. I mean, there's other brands that I use too. I use Colora glosses. Sometimes I use Colora permanent if my clients are allergic to PPD or ammonia. I've tried, you know, other things. My go-to though, 98% of the time is Megix because I don't have the time now. I'm spoiled. I am spoiled. So my clients are here no longer than 2 hours. Like at most 3 if I'm doing a full-blown transformation, but the majority of my clients, guys, are in and out in 45 minutes to an hour. Like mind-blowing to me. And so while I brought Megix on selfishly, right, 6 years ago, I was like, hell yeah, if I can get clients in and out quicker, I can make more money, I can have more time, blah, blah, blah. Like it was all for me, right? As much as I love my clients, dude, if I don't have to sit there for 3 hours, I'm not going to, because I don't want to, right? I love my clients, but not for several hours on a regular basis. And maybe that's fucked up of me. Okay, maybe it is messed up, but it's my truth. So I had brought it on selfishly. And what's happened is, especially like this post-pandemic, where we are living in a time of like, people want what they want and they want it now. They want it yesterday. Think about it. Instacart, Amazon Prime, DoorDash, everything is express. So I'm meeting consumers where they're at. So while I brought it on selfishly for me, the turn of events in the world and just economic climate and consumer mindset, like I am set up for success because of this. So now my clients look at me and they're like, hey, Aras, never, ever, ever do I want you to use something that's going to take longer, because I am now spoiled. So not only are my clients spoiled, getting in and out quicker, I'm spoiled because like I can't imagine having to sit there and wait for a great coverage process for 45 minutes and double booking with multiple clients. Like that is way too stressful for me. I am in my fucking live your best life era. I don't want to stress. And so one client at a time, in and out quicker. They're happy. I'm happy. I'm getting paid. They're getting what they want. They're referring people. Like it's just such a win-win in all of the freaking ways. And so a little bit about, what is it that makes Megix different than other 10-minute colors? Because maybe, where you're at now, you're open to the idea of using a 10-minute color, right? Like you see the benefit of it. And maybe if it's not for all of your clients, right? Like I use it for all of my clients. But a lot of you would want it for like the emergency or the late night or like the random great coverage client. So why Megix? Well, first, it's very low in ammonia compared to some of the other brands. And it's not progressive. It doesn't have a heavy dye load. It's not going to get darker over time. Granted, you have to formulate properly, because I'll tell you this, like if you have a client that's a natural level, or say she's a level 7 extra porous and you put a 5 on her, it's going to look darker because her hair is porous, right? I always talk about the canvas, right? What is the porosity? What is the texture? All of that still has to be considered. But the way Megix is designed, it will not get darker. It's got a very reflective and shiny finish. So it doesn't look like helmet head. It doesn't look opaque. It doesn't look like root spray. Like it's actually beautiful, shiny, like insane results, right? So it's not high in ammonia. It's not progressive. And the best part for me anyways, is that I can use it as a permanent, as an alkaline demi or an acidic demi, right? It's all cream based. It's the same tube of color, but I can transform it into an alkaline demi-like with a lower developer. I can transform it to act like an acidic demi because they have these drops called Megix Morph. It's a pH adjuster. So I can actually finesse the pH of my product and make it act like a deposit only. Like, are you fucking kidding me? 5 to 8 minutes for toning, 10 minutes for gray coverage, 20 minutes for high lifts. And then they just launched these new bleaches that are absolutely insane. They have a powder, a cream, and these 2 additives. So there's a lot of benefits to using Megix 10 as a colorist, right? And so I choose to use it again because not only did it help me literally almost double my income, but I'm giving my clients what they want, right? They don't want to have, like, clients are very, very peculiar and particular on where they're spending their time and where they're spending their money. And so I know one of my friends, Nikki Wildflower, you guys know her. She preaches and teaches on efficiency, on how to run your business more efficiently. And Megix 10 just kind of fits because that's what consumers want. And that's what we as colorists want as well. And so I think, the technology that fuels Megix, the whole ideology of the brand of working smarter, not harder, is just so in alignment with how I operate. And so that's why I choose to use Megix most of the time, right? Like I said, there are times where I will choose to use other products, but I mean, if I had a choice, I'm going to choose 10-minute color Megix 10 all day, right? Because I'm not spending as much time with each client while I love them. If I can get the same, if not better results with Megix 10 in half the time, why would I not? Like, why would I not do that? Right. But I will say there's always a learning curve. If you have ever transitioned color lines, there is a learning curve, and there is one with Megix too. So I'm not going to say it's going to be a piece of cake, because you guys know, trying to figure out the levels, trying to figure out the tones from what you're using now to Megix, like there's going to be a learning curve, and that's going to happen with whatever brand that you choose to move on to. But for me, I weighed out the pros and the cons, right? Like, do I want to spend all this time learning a new brand? That's the con, is the time of the testing and the potential corrections and the potential mistakes. That's a con. But the pro is I could literally charge more for using something like this, giving my clients an express luxury service so I can charge more, I can make more money, I can work less hours, I can go home earlier, I can take weekends off. Like the pros so far outweighed the cons of learning a new color line for me that I made the switch. Now, there's some of you that are like, fuck that, don't have time for it. Cool. I get it. Like that's 100% your prerogative. I just wanted to share my experience with what has worked for me. Right. And so like I was using Megix before pandemic. So when we were able to open back up, I wasn't stressing. I wasn't tripping. Like I had already learned the color line. I was already using it. So I was able to see all my clients, no problem. But I think, like I said, what it's done for my business, and then obviously now getting involved in the education side of it because I believe in it so much, has just been a wildly fun experience. And so it is a little bit different. While it is like a traditional color line and a 10-minute color line, if they had a baby, that's Megix 10. It is a little bit different. Like the developers, for example, a little bit more oxygenated, right? The way that the micropigments are formulated, they couple and combine a little quicker. So there's definitely a little bit of a different technology, but color is still color. So the laws of hair color don't change just because the technology of the color is different. If you apply on fine porous hair, it will always appear darker. It is a cream color. So if you apply a cream color on fine porous hair, it will appear darker. The laws of color don't change. So when you're grounded as a colorist and you understand the canvas that you're working on and you understand the chemicals that you're working with, guess what? That transition is not as steep, right? That learning curve isn't as steep because you know what to look for, you know how to test, you know how to learn a new color line if you choose to. Now, like I said, for me, I like Megix 10 versus most of the other 10-minute color lines, if not all of them, because of my options, right? So I brought Megix on fully. And so I don't only do gray coverage. There's a lot of redheads. I've got like all kind of shit that I do. And so I like having the options with Megix 10 to do every service with a 10-minute process time. I like that it's not progressive. I like that it's technology based. It's a little forward thinking compared to, you know, some of the other 10-minute color lines on the market. And just the variety of options that I have with Megix, I really feel like it's a colorist color line. So if you haven't tried it, I would definitely encourage you to look it up. You can follow them at Megix 10. I oftentimes share my formulas. But again, I'm not recommending that you have to use Megix. I just like to come onto this podcast and share what works for me. And Megix has worked for me. It has worked for me in running my business for the last 6 or 7 years. I've never made as much money as I have now because I'm able to see more clients. And something for you to consider, if there are any of you, which I already know there are, maybe you're afraid to have that conversation with your clients about raising your prices, right? Like we know inflation is insane right now. What is it, September 2023? Like it's a lot. People are definitely tight with where they're spending their money. So having the conversation of just like, hey, I'm raising my prices, don't leave me. Like you don't have to, right? You can still make more money without raising your prices because you flip it, right? If you are spending less time with a client, that gives you more space to take on more clients. So just something to think about. Like I said in the beginning, guys, this podcast is a passion project of mine. I share with you what works for me. And hopefully this was a little bit more insightful on why I choose to use 10-minute color, specifically Megix 10. It's just helped me like significantly and I love it. And that's why I teach for them. That's why I talk about it all the time. If you have any questions, feel free to send Megix 10 a DM. I think in the link in their bio, there's a place where you can find your local distributor. They've got like little try me kits and stuff like that. But I love it. And if you use Megix 10, if you can comment, let me know if you use it, what you love about it, maybe how long you've been using it. Let's chat. Hopefully this changed your perspective a little bit on 10-minute color. And if you do try it, let me know how it goes. All right, guys, until next time, happy hair coloring.